Hey, how's it going?
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, it's a Monday morning where I'm at. I think it's a Monday evening where you're at. Is that right?
It is, yeah. So I can tell you the future and you can tell me if I'm right or
Ah, perfect, perfect. That sounds great. Let's not
not.
tell everybody over here though. They don't need to know. I just want to know.
Yeah, I'll just slide it into your DMs. I'll tell
Perfect,
you what the
perfect,
um
perfect.
but I see my colleague
Yeah,
Mo
we
is
have
on
Mo here,
stage. Got a
and I
ledger
was
listener.
I was gonna get Hugo, but I cannot DM him. So if you can invite him in here, that would be amazing if we want him to speak.
Okay, I will I'm gonna shoot him a note right now.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, for some reason it wouldn't let me DM him. I don't
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course, no
follow people,
problem.
so sometimes it doesn't let me. Um,
That's okay, no problem. Let me just shoot him a note.
Sounds great. And for everyone here, we're going to talk about NFTs and security. If you have any questions, please share them. Also, there is a special slide deck that the folks at Ledger made for the Lazy Lions that we're happy to share. It's going to be shared in the Lazy Lions Discord, so you are going to have to get in the Discord to get it. But the Lazy Lions are a super friendly community. It's one of the reasons I'm involved with them and have a lion as my profile pic. And so if you hop in the Discord, they will help you with this stuff too. Um, so yeah, I'll be pinning the Discord once I find it, or if someone tells me what the best tweet for that is. And I'll be sharing the deck too. But we're going to go over a whole bunch of stuff with the Ledger team here in a second. I'm assuming we want Hugo in here before we start. Is that right,
We
Ariel?
do. We
Cool.
need some Hugo. There he is. I see he's a listener.
Yeah, I'll get him up right now.
Great. Maybe in the interim, Mo, you can introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, great to be
Hey,
here. Pleasure.
hey,
Thanks for the invite, Hyten. It's
thanks,
Hyten. That's how
thanks
we
for doing
pronounce it.
this.
I don't want
You you
to
can say it.
mispronounce
You
your
can
name.
say it. You can say it any way you want. I'll take it any way I can get it. So yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, people say it all kinds of ways. I'll take it though. But I
Great.
appreciate you making the time and even wanting to sort of do this with us. I'm super stoked.
No, but I mean our objective is just to help you guys out. So, we're pretty connected to the different communities, and we see what's been happening lately. So, I mean, it hurts us as much as it's hurt you guys. So, we really wanted to come out here and try to, answer some of your questions and maybe save some of you guys from the hurdles of dealing with some of the bad stuff that's been happening around.
And I have four ledgers, so I'm all in on you folks and the brand, and I just love the product. It's very simple to use. I had to make sure I found the right cable yesterday because I hadn't used one of them in a minute. But outside of that, I'm a huge fan of this and really excited about this. So yeah, and we got Hugo up here too. Hugo, do you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then I'll have Ariel introduce herself as well.
Yeah, sure, of course. So my name is Hugo, and I currently work as the Ledger Live Tech Lead. I've been working for Ledger for something like a little bit more than 2 years now, and I've been into cryptocurrencies, I think, for at least 6 years, like some of us, I guess. I actually applied to Ledger when I understood that it was a French company. Honestly, I really had no idea. I went there, and so far it's going very well. So it's 2 very happy years. Regarding Ledger Live, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's what we call the Ledger Hard Wallet Companion app. So it's basically a wallet app that helps you manage, install stuff, and monitor your hardware wallets. But I think we'll get more into the details later. So maybe I'll let you introduce yourself as well, Ariel.
Yes, thank you, Hugo. So I'm pleased to be here with everyone. I'm Ariel. I'm our editor-in-chief at Ledger. What that means is I'm here to help work with folks like you to better understand the brand and to build more of a brand story for Ledger, really allowing so many of the different voices to shine and be amplified on the platform. And for those who don't know, Ledger is the world's most secure hardware wallet, but at the end of the day, we're also the most secure platform for digital assets in Web3. And so through Ledger Live, we really see it as the gateway for you to buy, to trade, to sell, to talk to your friends, to engage in communities like this. But at the end of the day, no one can have a prosperous experience into this brave new world if they don't have the education that they need to. And so it's our goal to be the most secure and educational space. And so it's fun to just be here and chat and be able to provide as much information as we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm Heaton. I'm hosting this today on behalf of Lazy Lions and Ledger. I do NFTs for fun, and I would say fun and profit, but we're in a down market right now, so everyone's having some fun. But yes, I do it for fun, and I love doing these spaces about NFTs to help bring new people on, as well as make sure that everybody that's been doing this for a while is kind of on the right track and knows what they need to know. So thank you everyone for attending. I think I'm gonna start with some 101 questions because I think everyone should get up to speed around kind of the security for NFTs in general. And then I would love for you folks at Ledger to kind of help me out with that. So I think the big question for me is like, are there specific procedures around wallets or safety and security that are high level that you folks would kind of recommend to people? Obviously, I have my own opinions about all that, but like I would love to hear from the experts today in particular. So any thoughts, any of you three on that, and then we can dive into kind of deeper topics. So kind of general security 101 kind of thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I will pass it over to Hugo in a second because he is our resident expert on all things. But I would say, you know, just to give it a little bit more information, the reason why we recommend staying secure with a ledger is because it keeps your private keys off the blockchain. And what that means is that when your keys are on the blockchain or on Web3, they're more vulnerable and susceptible to being hacked. You know, we've seen a lot of folks, unfortunately, within different communities recently have that experience. And a lot of that comes from blind signing, which means that if you're buying NFTs or you're buying digital assets, sometimes you're making confirmations and you're betting that you're making it with the right folks, and you might not be. And so we really promote, take a deep breath, Google something if it feels unknown, and use something like a wallet like Ledger where you are able to secure your key off the chain, which keeps your value secured as well as your portfolio grows.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, in general, you're gonna have a wallet. It's gonna be like MetaMask or a Coinbase or something like that, and then you want to figure out how to keep things secure. And one of the best ways, if not the best way, is a hardware wallet, so that you kind of need it sort of in order to interact with the blockchain, and you know that you're kind of doing it in an official approved way. Approved in the sense of like you're approving it. There's like a number of different checks that you can do. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. And I think since we have Hugo here, what is a hardware wallet and why? I understand the why. I think everyone here understands the why they should use it, but anything you have that's deeper that actually talks about how it does protect you would be great. And then anything else oriented around that and the hardware wallets, because I'm not sure if everyone even knows what a hardware wallet is. I think the why is like anything to make you more secure when you're moving around. You know, your cryptocurrency is great, but the why. So the why I think is security in general, and everyone probably got that going on with or got that idea. But let's talk about kind of the hardware wallet side and kind of why hardware wallets, and in particular a ledger, etc.
Sure. So I guess to properly explain what is and what is not a hard wallet, we have to go back to some cryptocurrencies basic. I mean, really basic. I think the most basic thing we have about crypto is cryptography itself. Cryptography, in the case of crypto, we are using what we call asymmetric cryptography, which means that you have two keys. One that is called the private key, and the name is pretty well chosen because this one is very private and you have to protect it. And one that is called the public key, and that can actually be used to verify that something was signed with your private key without having to really reveal it. So there is pretty much two layers to cryptocurrency security, and the first one is keeping your private key safe. So there's a lot of wallets. There is hardware wallets, of course, but we also have something else that is called software wallets. And what they all have in common, all those wallets, is that whenever you are trying to send a transaction, it has to be signed with your private key. And this private key, in order to sign it, it has to be stored somewhere, right? So, for instance, if I'm using a software wallet like Metamask or Phantom to sign my transaction, it has to, at some point, load my private key in memory, sign my transaction and its contents, then broadcast it to the blockchain. So this private key has to be stored somewhere. And this is pretty much the issue that some people are having with software wallets, is that your computer is actually a very big, complicated machine. It has a lot of features and probably as much potential vectors of attack as it has feature. It's pretty good to do everything. It's connected to internet the whole day. If there is any security issue then it can be the end, because all it needs is for someone to actually get a hand on your private key to be able to sign transaction in your way, in your name. Cryptocurrencies are a very, very empowering tool in the sense that you are your own custodian. No one can take what is yours. You are truly the owner of your assets, but of course it's a double-edged blade, because it also means that if for some reason you mess up or get hacked, you have no one to turn to. It's pretty much the end in most cases. So I think it's quite easy to go around this. All we need is a little bit of education, understanding the basics of blockchain. Honestly, it's not too complicated. Like, you guys have been pretty much taught how to use the banking system, which itself is quite complicated. It's not so easy. The banking websites are usually not so easy to use as well. The only main difference is that if you mess up with your bank account, usually you can just give a quick phone call to your banker and he's going to fix stuff for you. Most of the time, not all of the time, sadly. So the thing about hardware wallets is that they are small computers, very small computers that actually the size of a USB key, but they are not really a storage device, and they are just here to safely secure your private key, pretty much. So hardware wallets, it's quite easy to describe. There is 2 buttons, a screen that is called a secure screen, secure trusted display also. The main point is that it's a very closed ecosystem. No one can really run arbitrary code in your hardware wallets without your consent, or Ledger's consent at least. So it's a very closed ecosystem that has only one purpose, securing your private key, pretty much. So the way it's going to work, I want to perform a transaction, for instance, with Metamask, as usual. But instead of signing it, Metamask doesn't have my private key. So it's going to delegate the transaction intent to my hardware wallet, which is going to sign it internally, which means that the private key never leave the hardware wallet for your computer, which is very, very important. That also means that it doesn't matter how corrupt is your computer. It can have so many malwares. It's not going to change a thing, because the transaction is still going to display with all its details on the hardware wallet screen. So you get actually to verify it. And then you can use the buttons to either reject it or accept it before it's then get it broadcasted to the network. So I think this is the main thing we want to remember about hardware wallets. The whole point is to minimize a lot the attack surface, so that it can't, so that it's way harder to attack.
Thank you, Hugo. I really appreciate that explanation. I know that you you folks really care about the product, and the reason I can say that is because I used Ledger Live yesterday, and it was actually incredibly easy. Like I said, the only issue I had was I had to make sure I found a right data cable, not a power cable. No big deal. You folks provide one in the box. I have a few of these boxes around, so I used your cable and everything worked really well. And I found some old Bitcoin and Ethereum I wanted to move. So one thing, I actually wanted to bring someone up real quick because he tweeted and said, and I'm going to read his tweet. I'm also going to put up his tweet because I think nobody better could be a kind of a vote of confidence for you folks than this guy. So he said, yes, love my Nano X for ease of use and security aspects built in the app, especially because I worked for Department of Defense and cybersecurity for 9 years. So I'm usually extra tough on security tools. So I didn't I didn't think this would happen or anything like this. I didn't make it happen. This is not scripted, but Fonzo, I hope that's the right way to say your name. Can you come talk about your experience with Ledger? I know this is a surprise for everybody, but I'm pretty stoked that you tweeted and want to hear from you directly, and I'm sure everyone else does too, especially with your background.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for pinging me to come up. Loving the conversation, and I actually had somebody in my community. I have a creator coin on the Rally network and doing some stuff in that space for a while now. And when I started to get NFTs, someone actually sent me the Ledger Nano X and was like, I don't want to recommend this to my community until you test it out. And so my background, I'm a futurist now, so I focus on a lot of the bleeding edge technology and kind of translating it down so that we could all use it. And so I'll say I'm doing a video of it for my community. I'll happily tweet it out whenever. It should be done this week. But for me, I usually look at it from both the power user perspective and the new user perspective on how easy is it to use, how is the training in the app as far as the UI and the UX. And I'll say I've shared this in my community, and it'll be part of the video. For me, I was very excited to see in the actual app, the Ledger app, but also kind of the nuances that kind of go on between the mobile device and the desktop. I felt like it was really well done on like kind of the synergy of kind of education, but also walking you through the steps. And the hardware tool itself is not only very sturdy, but I felt like I didn't have any of the things that I was kind of afraid of having, as far as afraid that I was going to be either having to click too many buttons or not enough buttons, or going back and forth to where it would be that extra layer. And I'm a big fan of two-factor authentication, but I'm even a bigger fan of that extra layer, that where we have to have a third piece of security that really kind of gives us not only a little bit more let's just say ease of mind, but I think for my community, one of the biggest things was really just these are all new connections, and the biggest threat for security is always for most people that don't know, it's not the Chinese, it's not random hackers, it's actually usually it's insider threat or operator error, where we're clicking on the wrong link that someone sends us in an email or in a tweet or a Discord direct message. And so anything that gives us that extra layer, I think, is extremely valuable. And I was blown away. So yeah, I have a video that I'm creating on it. Just not getting paid or promoted. I didn't get paid or told to say any of this. For me, it's all about how do we help the community be more secure and also kind of level up on education. So yeah, kudos to the Ledger team on the UI within the app. I think to me was the most pleasant surprise, because I feel like anyone could download or to buy the product, and you would get a better understanding of why this security matters and how to use the product in the app. And I can tell you most security apps don't do that. So those are my thoughts. Happy to share.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm bringing a few other people up that are telling me they've had some recent experiences with Ledger. So that's awesome. And thank you for coming up and saying that. I think your vote of confidence is such a big deal. I did have one question for the Ledger team that came up. And so we're just going to make this fluid, by the way, everybody. You can DM me. You can ask to raise your hand. I might not let you up here on speaking. I probably will, though, in a bit. But I want to get through some of these questions I've already got on DM. But anyone can ask a question. You can also DM me a question. I'm watching those. So one question, and I'm going to pick on my buddy Ozark for this. I think he's at work, so you can't come and say anything. But he said he gets this question a lot. And this is for the Ledger team. Does the team recommend creating a completely new wallet, or is it best practices migrating your current DeFi wallet into Ledger? I think that's an amazing question. Would love to hear what you folks have to say, Ledger team.
So I think as Ledger, we would never recommend anyone migrating your current. So here we are talking about the seed, right? When we say migrating, we are talking about using your BIP39 already existing 24 or 12 word security phrase and importing it, initializing your ledger with it. So actually, it can be seen as something that's very convenient, right? Because BIP39 is a standard. It's not something that's Ledger proprietary. Every wallet uses it. Metamask is using it. So yeah, it can feel very convenient at the beginning. But the main issue we have with that is that your 24-word security phrase is actually your crypto itself. Your crypto are as secure as your seed, and it doesn't matter how many layers of security you have. If your 24-word security phrase was compromised in the first place, it's never going to be more secured than the data itself, than the phrase itself. So usually what we recommend is generate your 24 words by any secure way, but don't do it on something that's digital. It's the same way of saving it, actually. If you generate your 24 seed phrase with your ledger, never take a picture of it, never write it somewhere on your cloud, on the Apple cloud, on some documents on your computer. It's pretty dangerous because those seed phrases are actually quite easy to identify for any malware. I can scan your whole computer and look specifically for that kind of data, and I'll find it because your hard drive is not so big, and at the end of the day, it's only 2048 words. The seed phrase. There's not so many possibilities. So no, I will never recommend reusing it. You should create a new one. You should make sure that it's off the grid. Ideally, you want to write it on a paper or put it on a crypto steel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with crypto steel, but there's a company that literally sells stainless steel components that are literally made to make sure that your seed phrase is like earthquake proof or fireproof or acid proof. So yeah, people are dedicating a lot of means to make sure that their seed never gets online. So the point is to keep it offline, I guess.
There's your answer.
Also, just thank you to the story beforehand about sharing your ledger experience, because I just want to say I know that there's a huge team of people every single day that are just trying to make that happen. So stories like that make our team very, very happy. So thank you.
We got another one coming up too. Hey VJ, I know we were DMing and you have some context for a bunch of reasons. So would you mind sharing your story too? I think you're muted. Let me know when you're ready. So there are people that are coming up with their stories, and I know that some of you might have some questions. So I guess I'll continue until VJ can speak and ask you folks kind of another question that I got. So this is a kind of interesting one, and it gets a little bit in the weeds. But somebody asked me on DM, is there a way to export an account created in Ledger Live mobile into desktop? I think this person says they believe the other way around works, which means desktop to mobile. But I think they're trying to go from mobile onto desktop. And they wanted to know if this is ever going to be possible. I know it's in the weeds, but hey, let's do a little bit of that kind of customer support since I have you folks. And then VJ, you can go after that.
Sure. So today, I think there is no way to do it in that way, at least. You can definitely export everything you have from your desktop to your mobile account. But there is no way to do it the other way around for the simple reason that I don't know if you guys have noticed the way we are actually exporting the accounts, but of course we needed it to be peer-to-peer. We don't want the account data to go in any server for obvious privacy reasons. So the way we are doing it is by generating a constant stream of QR codes, which is actually contain all the user account data, and then you gotta file it for a while with your phone on your desktop computer, and the mobile app is actually reconstructing the data step by step. The thing is that it doesn't really work the other way around, but it's cool though, because most laptops actually have a webcam. So it's something that we could definitely look into. But so far, no, it's not really a thing. You can always, if you don't have so many accounts, you can always just use your Ledger device again and re-add the accounts. They will be there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Also, for everyone here, I have a suggestion, and I want to make sure everybody kind of is reminded of this, which is go to ledger.com or go to the link from their own Twitter account on Ledger. They have @Ledger. that's the best way to buy. Do not buy from any third parties. That's at least my personal recommendation. I think you folks at Ledger would agree with that, because then you're at least getting not at least, you are getting the legitimate official one. And I know there's some kind of seals and stuff in there to verify, if I'm not mistaken. But make sure you're buying from the actual website itself, ledger.com. I wouldn't buy from anywhere else in this case, because it's real important stuff.
Actually,
ahead,
you could buy from Amazon as well. Maybe we could talk about this, because a lot of people
Go ahead.
are afraid, and they're right to
even
be
I'm
afraid, because
afraid,
there's
to be
so
honest
many,
with you.
yeah,
Even I'm afraid.
so many scams happening around.
Break it down. Break it down how we
Yeah,
can make
so
sure it's a
I
proper
think
ledger.
what you're referring to is a supply chain attack, and some of them already happened. But what happens is you actually get a ledger, whether it be Nano S or Nano X, delivered to your doorstep. And you have it in a way that is you have the seed, but it's actually preceded. So you have some sort of paper that is, the scratch papers that you have to scratch to discover the words that are underneath a certain layer of, gray stuff. I don't know how we call this. So, and basically you have the seed phrase, but it's preceded. And the people who actually do this is that they buy, any kind of ledger of, whether it be from our website or from Amazon or any the legitimate third party that is kind of official, that we recognize as an official store that could sell our products. And then they precede it, they insert and put in this paper with the product, and then they send it to someone saying, hey, this is Ledger, we're gifting you this product because you're a loyal customer. Or they go on Amazon, and since Amazon is a huge e-commerce platform, they create another shop on Amazon and kind of tweak with the wording. So instead of it being Ledger, it becomes Legder, and play around with the word, and you think it's the Ledger's official page, and you end up buying a product for them, and you're not really educated around what the seed phrase is and how it should be generated. So the number one rule is that you should never ever use a seed phrase that is not generated by the product during the initialization phase. So if the seed phrase is generated by the product, so basically when you buy the product and you set up your product following the onboarding phase that's on Ledger Live, at some point in the onboarding phase, you have the trusted display of your product generating the 24-word seed phrase. Then you have to write it on a paper, and then the device asks you to confirm what you have written in order to make sure that you have the words in the right spelling and in the right, correct, just the way that they follow, like each word is put up correct in the correct order. So as long as the seed phrase is generated by the device, you're good to go. And just make sure that you're buying it from the official Ledger store on Amazon. And there are many other, trusted third parties you can buy ledgers from as well. As long as you follow this rule, you'll be okay.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I still would say you should buy from ledger.com. But that's just my personal advice. Not to dismiss what you're saying, but like, it just feels safer. But I like everything else you said about kind of what's going on there. Plus, I'm sure you folks want direct sales anyway. It's probably better for your business in a bunch of ways. But yeah, I mean, if you can verify where you're getting it from, I think that's great. But thanks, Mo. Vijay, I would love to hear your story and your quick background. I have a pile of questions I'm going to go through after this because people are piling them on, and we have the Ledger folks' attention today. So I'm going to make sure I ask a bunch of those. But Vijay, please go and share kind of your experience, a little bit of your background, because I think that's relevant too, if you don't mind. Hopefully it works this time. Yeah, it does. Okay, great. Go for it.
Yep. Ethan, is my audio clear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So I was just like keeping my fingers crossed that I don't get rugged by Twitter, because every time I come up on stage, I get rugged and thrown out. So hopefully I've just changed my network. So hello people, this is Vijay here from India. I'm an entrepreneur in the fintech space. A quick background. So we basically work with MasterCard, Visa to tokenize payment card data on a wearable product that we're building. It's a ring which you wear on your finger and doubles up as your credit debit card. So I pretty much understand the hardware technology at Ledger. Just wanted to, kind of share an experience today. I unlocked, I activated one of my Ledger, and unluckily for me, my Mac is slightly running on an old OS, And the latest version, I think the Ledger Live 2.3.3, that was not working for me. So, being a tech geek, I just went to, GitHub and, kind of downloaded an older version. I was slightly feeling paranoid about it, but I just still went ahead and I just trusted that, okay, the old version still would be working. But then I just want to understand, like, is it okay? Is it like recommended or not recommended? Should I like upgrade to the latest version? That's one. The other thing which I wanted to understand is that for people who visit your GitHub, I mean, when I search for Ledger GitHub, okay, the Ledger HQ probably shows up as the first result, but I also tried to double check on your website if I could kind of get redirected back to the same GitHub page, but I couldn't found anything. So maybe that's also small feedback that maybe if you can link your GitHub, people, at least the tech folks, can understand that this is one hosted by you yourself. So these are two things just I wanted to share.
Thanks for sharing. I'll let the Ledger folks answer, and then we'll get to some other questions too.
So first of all, it's a very appreciated feedback. It's possible maybe that our main website is not so much focused on developers currently. We do have a dev portal though, that might be of interest if you are a developer yourself. I think you can write a Ledger dev portal and Google and find some stuff. And for instance, how to integrate your product with Google or how to integrate your coin in the hardware wallet, get your token listed. Really, pretty much all the developer experience should be on the dev portal. Maybe I think there should be a link on the main website, perhaps at the bottom, but I need to check that. So anyway, thanks a lot for the honest feedback. Regarding what you said about your outdated Mac version, so I didn't really get it. Were you able to properly build it on your side and make it work with the Nano through USB?
Yes, I was able to.
Okay, so I guess the main issue here is that Ledger Live is an Electron app. So like a lot of modern applications, actually, for instance, Slack, Spotify, Discord, all those apps are actually Electron apps, which are low-key browsers. Those apps are very close from a website, actually, which make it very easy for developers to make it run on multiple platforms. The thing is that Ledger Live is a bit different because it has a lot of native dependencies. It's relying on USB, so it's using what we call native modules. And those native modules, they are not always published and maintained for older versions of operating systems. So the thing is that if you create your own version locally, the native module are going to be built especially for your machine, and then it's going to work out of the box, while the pre-built version that is actually distributed on the website is not, because the natives pre-built binaries are not working with your computer. So to answer your question, I think, of course, it's always better to have the latest version because we make sure that if something bad happens, we are going to fix it very quickly. But at the end of the day, if you are a power user, there is nothing I really can do to stop you from doing that. And I mean, if you are a power user, you can probably take care of the issue by yourself. And I think it's good enough. I mean, Ledger Live is still an open source project at the end of the day. So really, I have no objection.
Love that. So I don't want this to turn into customer support, but people do have a couple questions that are kind of oriented around that. But I'll start with one that's not. So there's two ledgers. There's a Nano S and a Nano X. Can someone just speak to the difference between the two for everyone's sake? I'm asking, I have an X. I did some research before I bought it, and all of them are just X's. For me, that one just felt simpler. But again, the horse's mouth, so to speak, are you folks on the Ledger team. So any advice for anyone that's trying to choose between an S and an X?
Say that the S is a great starter. Like if you want to have one or two coins on your S, or you kind of want to have one that even sometimes we say is like a backup, like you can actually on the site get it as a kit. That's a great way to use the S. The X is great because it has more compatibility, but also if you're interested in NFTs and digital assets, it has more space and it's a little bit more versatile for that. So we recommend the X as your portfolio grows. It's just newer product features, but Hugo might have more specifics than me.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly that. There is a few differences between the two devices. Well, first thing first, the Nano S is way simpler than the X for many reasons. For instance, the Nano S doesn't have a battery. It works only through powering with a USB cable, while the Nano X can actually use Bluetooth. So first thing first, if you want to use your device with your phone, which a lot of people like to do, you might want to use Bluetooth. Nano S still work with a cable, but only with Android phones, because Apple doesn't really expose the logic to connect custom stuff on an iPhone. You can do it with an iPad, but it's not possible with an iPhone. So that's the thing. Do you want to go with mobile or with desktop? Nano X work with both. Nano S is more designed to be used by desktop and also work with Android. But not a lot of people like to plug USB cables on their Android to connect their device. But it's still possible. You can do it. Then there is the question of storage. So the way Ledger hard wallets are actually working, out of the box, they can do a lot because they are platforms. Most done out of the box, they're not really hardware wallets here. They are platforms, and then it's what you have to do to install apps. An app can be, for instance, there is a Bitcoin app, there is an Ethereum app, there is a Cardano app. You can actually install them through Ledger Live on your Nano to specialize it. It's going to tell him the logic to how to communicate with those blockchains, how to sign transaction with those blockchains. Everything is modular, which also means that any of you guys that actually create its own blockchain tomorrow can create a small Ledger Nano app and submit it. We are going to review it to do a security check, and then we can actually publish it, and the Ledger hardware wallet will work with your own blockchain. So you have to install those apps. They are getting stored directly on what we call the secure element, which is the most important piece of electronic that you can have on the wallet. And it has only a few storage space, especially on Nano S. I think the average on Nano S is like 3 to 4 apps, while on Nano X it's a lot. It's like 100. It's virtually an infinity for what we're doing here. So of course, you can still juggle between the apps. I mean, if today I have Bitcoin, I'm going to use the Bitcoin app. If then I want to hodl it for a while and I'm not going to use it daily, I can just uninstall the Bitcoin app from my Nano and reinstall it when I want to do a Bitcoin transaction because I need room for other stuff.
Awesome. I actually have one, I think it's 1X and the rest are S's. So that's at least my combination for now. But thanks for that explanation. I think the difference between the two is extremely clear. The what is it? The X is also a little bit cheaper, and you can, or sorry, the S is cheaper, and you can get a bundle of them in case you want to, and to have multiple ones. I actually have one for each family member, and I stored a bunch of things on there for them. That's at least what I did. Cool. So now on to some of the other kind of interesting questions. So folks have been asking me a bunch over and over again about Ledger and Metamask. And I think some folks are actually having some trouble here and there. And again, don't want to turn this into customer support per se, but I do want to make sure people are educated about this. So I think there's some troubles people are having with using Metamask and Ledger. Any tips, guidance, or anything like that, even a tweet that I can pin, anything would be, I think, super helpful. I know a lot of folks have trouble with those two things, of kind of making those two things work well together. Any thoughts, any advice?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it's not the easiest thing when you onboard onto Web3. There are so many technicalities. What we try doing at Ledger is doubling down on education. So we have this website that's called Ledger Academy. It's actually a part of Ledger's website, where you have a variety of different educational assets, from videos to articles. So I'll be sending you an article now regarding MetaMask. But whether it be through the Ledger Academy or through our different touch points, the customer supports website as well, we answer all of these questions, and we try answering them in a way that is actually digestible by the readers. So I'll be sending you those assets, and feel free to give us any kind of feedback. If something's not working, we'll make sure to answer your questions. And maybe Hugo can give more of an overview of the technicalities of why this is actually complicated at the moment and how we're planning on solving that.
Yeah, actually, it's a very short story. It's a shit show nonetheless, but sadly, there is not so much that we can do. So there is multiple ways to safely connect USB devices to your browser. And I insist on your browser because here we are talking about Metamask, which run in the browser. So it's actually using the browser interface. One very old and also very popular solution was to use what we call U2F, which is at the origin, it was designed to connect security keys, but we use that. I mean, at Ledger, we provide a lot of open source packages that allow anyone to connect hardware wallets to their products using a lot of what we call different kind of transports. And U2F is one transport. The new standard that is quite popular now is called Web USB. And sadly, for now, Metamask is only using UTF. And guess what? Google Chrome decided to drop it, actually Chromium, I think, out of nowhere. They were like, okay, guys, by the way, we are dropping U2F, which means that currently nano devices can't connect with Metamask using U2F. Metamask only handle U2F for now, and Chrome just dropped it. So there is a few solutions around that. What we made as a very hacky temporary solution was to use what we call the Ledger Live bridge, which is basically Ledger Live opening some kind of local server that allow the Metamask extension to connect through it directly to the device using Ledger Live. I mean, Ledger Live is working like a proxy. It's just pushing backward and forward every input between the Metamask extension and the hardware wallet. I think another solution, which is quite easy now, is to use Firefox, because Firefox still has support for U2F. So if you use Metamask with Firefox, I think it's going to work out of the box. There is other popular wallet extension that doesn't have the issue, but we hope that we can very quickly resolve the issue with Metamask and maybe help them migrate to Web USB.
Also, if you look at the Metamask GitHub, it actually does look like they're getting close to having a solution. Ledger isn't the only affected partner, and they're really committed to making this obviously as seamless as possible for everyone. I know some of it has been an issue actually with Chrome. So it does look like, hope is on the way, and we're here to try and make it as seamless as possible until that moment, but we're almost there.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. One question I got, which I think it's going to be fun to answer. Someone was wondering if Bluetooth versus wired USB connection, which one is more secure? They were saying that they trust the wire more than they trust the air. Just curious if you folks from Ledger have any thoughts on that.
So actually, it depends a lot on the implementation. The way it's getting used, there's nothing much. I mean, currently, it can be either wire or Bluetooth. It's just some kind of tube. It's just a transport. There is nothing more that you can do through Bluetooth than you could do through wire. There is no data to extract from the hardware wallet. We do not expose anything. And if someone wants to perform an action, it still needs user validation. It still needs a user input. It's going to, let's say someone send you a hacky transaction to sign. It's going to display on your device screen. It's going to ask you, okay, do you want to send 100 Bitcoin to this guy, to this random address? You can still say no, right? So the ultimate security is straight on the ledger. It's not a matter of transport. Your wire is as secure as what's plugged to it, which is your computer, which is not secure by design. So the thing is that the way it's designed, we don't even ask ourselves the question, because we assume that anything that's plugged to the hardware wallet is malicious de facto.
Awesome. Thanks for taking that one on too. I think Vijay, you had a question. Also, if anyone else has a question, DM me or raise your hand. We have about 10-15 minutes left before we're gonna go. So yeah, please get your questions in. There are a couple more on DMs that I've already gotten. So Vijay, I know you're raising your hand. What's going on?
So, Hiten, I had one nice anecdotal, like incident to share with the Ledger team. Maybe that can, help them. So, I also run the Indian NFT Club on Clubhouse, which is, I think, the front-running, most leading NFT club in India, geographically. And over the last many months, just to onboard new people onto NFTs, I would, kind of tell them that if you open your MetaMask wallet right now, I'm going to give you a free NFT. Okay, and that's something which I would incentivize people to kind of jump the gun and do it, because it becomes very intimidating for Web2 kind of native people to understand Web3 concepts. So what if Ledger could come up with their own NFT collection, which is limited supply, or maybe they can kind of make the smart contract in such a way that every hardware wallet manufactured comes with a linked NFT, and you say that okay, if you buy a ledger and if you complete all the steps correctly, maybe you can also gamify it by putting in a small quiz, throw in a quiz in between, and you say, hey, like once you buy a ledger, you have like first NFT come in. So that entry point, if you can secure, the ledger can become your de facto entry wallet, which otherwise is MetaMask today. So just like wanted to share that as a like a feedback, suggestion, comment. Yeah, thank you.
So I can't tell you a lot about this, but you should definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you're reading our minds. So I'm jotting down your handle and make sure to reach out to you when we can.
It's awesome. It's so great to hear when someone says something and you folks are at least thinking about it, if not going to act on it. That's a sign of a great company that you can put your trust into. So
education.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is when it's fun, because education is at the core of everything we want to do, and figuring out how we can create fun and incentivization around that. But also, it's equally as lovely to be able to have these conversations and hear that that's what people want and want to share, because that's the whole point, right?
Yep. I mean, that's why I'm doing these spaces too. I think it's really important to educate people, especially right now. So I've got a couple other questions that have come through. Again, anyone wants to raise your hand, ask a question, go for it, or just DM me. My DMs are blown up, but the questions are all very similar. There's a bunch of patterns in them. So basically, one thing that's come up is some folks are trying to not use a computer and use a phone plus a hardware wallet, Ledger in this case, when they kind of have asked me about this. I'm just curious if you folks have any suggestions, plans, any pointers around someone that is trying to use their phone plus Ledger versus a computer. And if you have any thoughts on that, I'm not going to assume anything. I'll let you folks speak about this.
So I guess it depends a lot of what you want to do. There is a lot of different kind of crypto users. Some of them just want to move their crypto around. Some of them are more into DeFi and NFTs. So it really depends what you want to do, I guess. You can do a lot through Ledger Live on your mobile. I think you can manage your assets. I know you can manage your assets. You can also interact with a few curated DeFi services. The list is yet to extend, but for sure you're not going to. I don't think you're going to be able to use MetaMask with your hardware wallet yet. I think they should support it at some point, but currently there is a MetaMask app on mobile, and I don't think you can use it with a hardware wallet. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, it really depends what you want to do. I think that today, dealing with NFTs and DeFi is still a little bit more complicated than with a desktop, because you can do almost everything on desktop. But I guess it's going to change. It's probably a matter of weeks or months at worst, but I think it's going to change very fast.
This is another one of those. Please stay tuned. We have some products that I think in Q1 will really help with this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, even just that, the space is moving fast, and any updates like that are always great for people to hear. More importantly, that you folks are kind of moving in a direction that the market wants you to move in. So I'm gonna have Woozy speak because Woozy, we are here today. So what's up?
Hey, what's going on? How's the volume, first of all?
You sound great.
All right, cool. I just wanted to address the kings and queens of the Lazy Lion Pride. I mean, I've been running with you guys since about 3 days after Mint. I'm very active on the Twitter Discord. I'm always in the spaces, but I've just never gotten up here. So, big hello and more to everybody.
Well,
I
you
just
made you
also
made
want to
this you
thank.
made this
Yeah,
happen.
sure.
So this is the right time for you to come up. Because of Woozy, we're
I,
doing this today. So I can't say that enough.
I
And I'm
appreciate
excited
that.
about
But
that.
on that
Appreciate
note,
you. Yeah.
you got it, man. On that note, I just want to thank Mo, Ali, and Hugo for being here with us, and you hitting for hosting. So securities and scammers have been a huge problem in the entire space, but there just came a point recently where I just began noticing an uptick in the lazy lions being targeted, specifically probably because of the appeal and the rising price. I mean, I was just reading story after story, Twitter, Discord, and it was just troubling to see it. Really gutted me. I would wake up in the morning, and no exaggeration, wake up, open my computer, phone, and check my OpenSea, just making sure my NFTs were still there and that I didn't get scammed somehow. So just getting a ledger has given me that peace of mind, which is just absolutely priceless. So I just first wanted to express that, and then I did have another question, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course, please. Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, and thanks again, Mo, and everybody. So the seed phrase on the ledger is 24 words, but I know you guys have an option for a 25th word. So I'm just interested in, maybe you could speak on that feature a little bit more.
Sure. So it's a feature that we call the passphrase. It's pretty common feature actually. A lot of other wallets also have it. It's something that you can enable in your hardware wallet settings after it got initialized. The way it's going to work is that when the way we generate private key with the seed is through a process that we call derivation. I'm going to get your seed, which is some data. I'm going to make it go through a very specific process, and it's going to output private key for the coin that you chose. It's going to output a different private key for all of your accounts and for all the different kind of crypto that you want to use with that seed. So the way passphrase actually work is that we are adding one more derivation process in between. Actually, it's straight in the middle. So we are using that 25th word to actually derivate your seed to another seed right before generating a private key. So it's basically an extra layer of protection, because when your hardware wallet is working, is configured in that mode, it's never going to tell you that your PIN code is incorrect. All passphrase are always going to be good. The device is never going to tell you this is wrong, this is the wrong password, but it's going to generate a wrong passphrase if you mess up, if you forget it, for instance, and it's naturally going to generate new private keys and empty accounts. If you use the wrong one, then you can just lock it again and use the correct passphrase, which is the whole point. It can be used in many ways. For instance, some people like to use it to do what we call a decoy wallet. A decoy wallet will be some kind of very low value wallets when you still put some stuff so that it makes sense. It's pretty much made in case you get attacked in real life. Like if it gets physical and people pressure you to unlock your wallet and give them your funds, you can actually unlock it. There is going to be funds to be seen on the wallet, but almost nothing because it's a decoy. While your actual wallet, the real one, stays secured. You can have multiple decoy wallets if you want. I don't know if it's really clear. It's very complicated, very technical, I mean. So I don't know if it's clear enough.
Well, in a sense, because you're the only one that knows that word, you're almost acting like a second ledger in yourself. Or is that correct?
Pretty much. The thing is that the seed phrase is going to be different depending on the password that you use. Pretty much, and it's never going to be a wrong password. Every password is good. However, there is only one with your phones on it. The other ones are like empty accounts.
And we also have an Academy article around this. And just thank you, Uzi, for reaching out. I really appreciate that you did that. And circling back to what you were saying earlier about you being completely, paranoid. I think it's something that's we're trying to work on with everything that we're doing with education. But it's also about, education is key, as Heaton was saying, because there's no trusted third party that you can turn to and be like, hey, I need help. And as Spider-Man said, with great freedom comes great responsibility. And yeah, it's our responsibility to make sure that you guys have the necessary tools and knowledge in order to safely navigate the space. And yeah, so we've shared the deck, but at the same time, if you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to us or to customer support, and we'll share with you the necessary assets. I'll be sharing with Heaton right away the 25th word article as well, so that you guys can benefit from it.
Yeah, and I pinned a bunch of tweets at the top, one of them being a tweet that shares kind of the blog post about the Ledger Academy, where you can click on it and get to the Ledger Academy. We can only share tweets up there, so I did that in case anyone wants to get to the Academy and start looking around yourselves. So we have about a few minutes left. I want to respect everyone's time, everyone that's listening and everyone that's spoken. If anyone has a question that they're dying to ask, please go for it. Otherwise, I would love any parting thoughts from the Ledger team as we kind of end this today. And also, thank you again, once again. Can't express my gratitude for you folks taking the time and doing this.
I mean, I just want to say that we're extremely grateful again for you hosting this, and that we're really just a Twitter Spaces away. Like, we really love doing this. I mean, honestly, it's Mo and Hugo,
Awesome.
and I just have the pleasure of learning over and over again. But we would like to keep doing this. So please go to our Ledger Academy to learn, and questions that you have, DM us, reach out. We can do this again. We are really here to make it so that you feel comfortable enough to trust yourself.
I think when you folks have some updates, please ping me. I would love to do it again at that point. That seems like the best time to do it.
Awesome.
I know we have a few people up. Carrie, do you want to go first? If you can make it relatively quick, because I do want to respect people's time.
Yes, I just had a question about if the seed phrase is lost for the ledger, is there a way to recover that? Just hypothetically, I'm curious.
It's a good question.
So if your seed phrase is lost, there is no way to recover it, which is the whole point, unless, of course, you stored it somewhere safe on a piece of paper, I don't know, in a safe. But if you definitely lost it, then it's a big problem. Usually, you want to be very careful. If you already have an initialized ledger, then it's pretty great, because it means that you can still manipulate the seed, even though you don't have it anymore. It's still initialized in your ledger, so it's protected by your PIN code, and you can still extract your funds, but there is no way to get it out of the ledger, which is the whole point. And trust me, we are trying to do that all the day. We have a security lab that is called the Donjon. They try with all they have every day to extract the seed from the hard wallet, which is the holy grail of security. But so far we can't succeed, which is actually pretty much a good thing. So I won't complain. So the way I'm mitigating with that personally, and I think Hayden is doing pretty much the same thing, is that I have multiple ledger devices initialized on the same seed phrase, which is great. I have like 3 of them actually. I don't store them at the same place. This way, if something bad happened to my place, then I can still have them. And for instance, I'm storing them like at my parents' or something like that. So if I ever lose my seed phrase, as long as one of the 3 devices still works, I can actually get my fund out. I can go for a very temporary solution. For instance, I can transfer them all to an exchange while I actually generate a new one. And when the new one is generated, I can get the funds back on the ledger with the new seed phrase, and make sure that this time I'm not going to lose it. Does it answer to your question, Carrie?
Oh, yes, that's great. And do you have any recommendations for where the best place to put your seed phrases?
So not really, because if I give you a recommendation, then I know where to look.
Oh, right.
So it doesn't really make sense.
Course.
I think honestly, I've been like we have so many people reaching to us at Ledger asking for advice, and we have so many fun stories. For instance, I remember there was a granny, there was a grandma reaching to customer support, and she actually had buried the seed phrase in multiple pieces in her garden, and she didn't remember where it was. so she was really embarrassed. Of course, we had her securely extract her funds to a new seed because you still have an initialized nano. But I guess you have to be creative. You have to store it where people wouldn't think getting them. You can use safes, but usually when people see a safe, they know something valuable is inside. So I guess you have to be creative.
And may I just ask one more follow-up? So those 3 different ledgers, they all are from the same wallet, so you can have 3 different ledgers for the same wallet?
Yeah, exactly. When you first initialize your ledger, you have 2 solutions. The first one is I generate my seed. Then the ledger device is going to walk you through the process of initializing, generating it, writing it somewhere. Or you can initialize your device with an already existing seed. And in that case, nothing stops you from using the same seed as one of your ledger. They are going to be synchronized, and it's going to work the same way. I mean, let's not forget that the crypto is not really stored inside the ledger. The crypto, the ledger is just the key to sign transaction for your crypto. So if you have multiple ledgers that can sign transaction in your name, then it's okay. There is no problem with that.
What I'll add to that is that if you really want to secure your seed phrase, because when it comes, you have a sheet, a paper sheet that you can write it on, but a paper can be burnt, it can be eaten by a dog, it can be, it can suffer many different things. So we have different products that we sell on our Ledger website as well. So to name a few, we have the Crypto Steel and Billfoldle, and both of them are metal products that enable you to store your seed phrases inside the metal product. So they technically are immune to fires, any kind of water issues, so it's basically the safest way to store your seed phrase, and then up to you to choose the location. But in terms of the device or the way the mechanism that you choose to store it, a metal device would be the best way to store your seed phrase.
Thanks for that, Mo. We have one last thing here, one last question, I think. Duck, I wanted to make sure you got it in before we go. So you're the last one.
Yeah, no, actually not a question. Just to piggyback off of what they were talking about, where to store your seed phrases. Those little pieces of those little sheets that come with your ledger, they go in. I have actually a safe deposit box at the bank, so that's where it's at. So nobody's getting it but me, or unless they rob that bank. That's all I wanted to say.
I like it. No, thanks for the suggestion. This is a great way to end it. Put it where most people put their belongings,
That's
which is
right.
a safe depositing box. It's pretty obvious one, but I think that's pretty clean in today's world, in most countries at least. So thank you everyone for joining, listening. Thank you all the Ledger folks that have been on. Thank you to everyone that asked questions. I am going to end it to respect everyone's time. It is a Monday. I'm 5 minutes late to a meeting, but this was more important at this time, so we're still here. But again, thank you, everyone. Appreciate everybody that showed up, participated, and answered questions, etc. So look forward to the next one. Hopefully not too long from now, because this topic should just be talked about all the time, and people should be safe. So thanks again, everybody. Take care.
Thanks again for hosting. Bye from Paris.
Yeah. Hey, bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Guys. Thanks, Ethan. Don't hesitate
Enjoy
to
staying
reach out.
safe.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.